So this is an introduction to reproductive system disorders and conditions. Um, in your textbook, these chapters are e-chapters. I've taken the liberty of actually posting the appropriate e-chapters on Blackboard, although you can also access them through the internet by following the instructions at the front of your book. The I guess it was to say printing costs, or whether the textbook went to print before these chapters were totally ready, but nevertheless, the e-chapters are there for you to read and to use, just like you would use your textbook. Now, we're going to look at male and female reproductive disorders, uh, and and conditions. And I'm saying conditions because really a lot of reproductive conditions really aren't diseases or disease entities, but they have implications on the person, like pregnancy, for instance, uh, menopause, perimenopause, just ovulation, menstruation, are all conditions that are not necessarily disease entities or pathologies, but they have profound implications on the person and how they react to things. So this is a quick review of the bits. So if we're going to look at the female reproductive system, healthy non-pregnant women, the ovaries are way down low. They're almost just above the superior pubic ramus. They're right down low. The ovaries themselves are about the size of an almond, and the uterus is about the size of a walnut. Uh, in somebody who's never had a baby, the ovaries are attached to the uterus via the ovarian ligaments. The uterus and the fallopian tubes and everything are attached to the body wall by the broad ligaments. Um, the mesalpinx and the mesometrium and the mesovarium uh, hold it all out to the body walls. Ovaries are endocrine in that they produce hormone, estrogen and progesterone. They react to other hormones, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone being the most important ones. And they also produce the gametes. They produce the eggs, as it were. Now, these are not ova. Ova are these cells, these these haploid cells that are the reproductive cells, the gametes, after they've been fertilized, but before the two nuclei have joined to form a new individual. So we call them oocytes when they're ovulated until fertilization takes place. And the fertilization takes place within the oviducts, not within the uterus. It takes best part of a week to get from the ovaries to the uterus. So this is all a diagram that you've seen many times. The various parts, the ovary suspended by the ovarian ligament, the fimbriae of the fallopian tubes, the isthmus, the the whole uterine tube, the body of the uterus, and it's hollow, and it's lined with something called the endometrium. The opening of the uterus into the vagina is through the cervix, and the cervix normally is full of a very thick mucus. It only becomes thin at the time that you're ovulating, and sperm just to allow the entry of sperm into the uterus. Normally, it's kept fairly closed with a little mucus plug. Normal menstruation happens if there's no fertilized egg attaching, so the endometrium is shed every 28 days, every month. If you are pregnant, then it's maintained, and the hormones maintain it. Now, I used to be a very strong proponent that the natural state of being was every 28 days menstruation would occur, and etc. And I was not a big fan of a lot of the hormonal birth control pills, because I thought they weren't natural. They screwed up a woman's cycle. But then I came to the realization, I had an epiphany while actually reading an article, that for most of human society, what we consider normal now wasn't normal. My great-grandmother had 18 kids that lived. My grandfather's eldest brother was 30 years older than he was. So Uncle Spencer was born when my great-grandmother was like 15, and my grandfather was born when she was 45, and she had 18 kids that lived in between. Who knows how many pregnancies she had that didn't go full term, or how many stillborn she had. In those days, it was very common for people to have double-digit families, and that's a lot of pregnancies, and it's a lot of breastfeeding. So when you think about it, that woman was pregnant or breastfeeding almost her entire adult life. You could probably count on your fingers the number of periods that she had in that time, because she was always pregnant or breastfeeding. And that is really the norm around the world and through human history. And this idea that people delay having their first child until they're in their 30s, and that they have one pregnancy in their entire life, is really not the norm. So it leads to quite a few interesting conditions, let's say, that a lot of modern women have to deal with. There's a real strong relationship between the reproductive system and the endocrine systems. They are completely intertwined, and they affect each other both ways. And we have an awful lot of endocrine assaults in our society. We have a lot of hormones introduced into our foods, and in milk and in meat and in things like that. We have an awful lot of hormones that are synthetic hormones that have polluted our water supply, and we're getting them in our water supply. And a lot of plastics actually will simulate reproductive hormones. Soybean does it as well. So we have a lot of problems with this hormonal regulation of reproductive systems, and a lot of conditions come out of that. It says here there's histories of surgery or inflammation, scar tissue in the pelvis, can really disrupt things and have profound implications on massage. A statistic I read fairly recently is that Canada has got more hysterectomies per capita than just about anywhere else in the world. And one has to wonder is, do we do that surgery because we can? Um, you know, I don't know. It's food for thought. The male reproductive system really consists of the testes, the epidydimus, spermatic cord, and other glands like the seminal vesicles and the prostate gland, the bulbourethral glands, and uh, and of course the penis. So the gamete for for men is sperm. It's produced in the testes. It matures in the epididymis. It passes up to the spermatic cord, and it's mixed with um, secretions from prostate and seminal vesicles to make ejaculate, to make the semen. Now remember, sperm cells are small, small cells with a flagella. They use a lot of energy, but they don't carry any cytoplasm. So therefore, they have to swim in their nourishing medium. When they're in the spermatic cord provides the nourishment that keeps them alive and healthy. But after ejaculation, they have to they have to pack a lunch. They have to bring their own medium to get them up through the cervix. Once they're into the uterus, then the secretions from the uterus itself nourish them and keep them alive and give them the carbohydrates that they need to make ATP to swim. So there are two testes, two epididymi, two spermatic cord, two seminal vesicles, two ejaculatory ducts, but they all meet. The two of them meet to go into one urethra in the penis, in the prostate gland, and the prostate gland surrounds the urethra as it leaves the bladder and enters the penis. And right in the middle of it is where the ejaculatory ducts mix the products of the testes and the products of the seminal vesicle with the products of the prostate to make the ejaculate. The anatomy of the penis has got the spongy urethra, uh, the corpus spongiosum and the corpus cavernosum that allow for erection. And one of the conditions is erectile dysfunction. But really, we're going to spend the majority of the male talking about prostate problems. And just understanding how those affect men. Really, massage therapy doesn't have much of a role to play in the actual conditions for male or female, but we treat individuals that have these problems, and so we can help with the quality of life in those people that live with these things.